This is the Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Parramatta Leagues Club, home of the Eels, and also home of Jack's Pale Ale.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and it is the NRL Round Review Podcast, and it is the review of round number 15, a shortened round due to State of Origin, which is due to kick off in Perth, game number 2 on Wednesday night. So only 5 games this weekend with a number of teams having the bye. And it all kicked off on Thursday night at Shark Park, the Dragons taking on the Sharks. The Sharks got the win 30 points to 18 in front of a smallish crowd of 8,500 people. Look, it was all the Dragons the first half. They led 18 points to 6 at half time, and I was thinking, watching this game, I was thinking, oh no, here we go again, the Sharks, what is going on here? They have been touted as one of the competition favourites, but they cannot seem to beat the lower ranked teams, and especially at home as well. They had a great win against the Melbourne Storm a few weeks ago, but got smashed by the Warriors last week, and I was thinking the same thing was going on again in that first half. Braden Trindle got the first try of the game, so they certainly started off pretty well. Braden actually got a double in this game. But then it was all the Dragons, 3 straight tries. Jack DeBellin got a try, Damien Cook, Lycan King Tonga, he got a try as well. Kyle Flanagan, 3 from 3. And as I said, they led at half-time, 18 points to 6, but then fell away in the second half. It was 24-0 to the Sharks when it mattered, and the Sharks ended up getting the victory. So no doubt Coach Shane Flanagan will be very disappointed about that. A game that got away from them. Sione Katoa got 2 tries. Britton Nikora got a try as well. And as I said, Braden Trindle got 2. Nico Hines, 4 from 5 conversions, 1 penalty goal as well. Look, the Dragons, there's been a lot of talk about the halfback position there at the Dragons. Currently, at the moment, it is Kyle Flanagan there. They have had Lachlan Ilias in there as halfback at the start of the season, with Kyle playing 5'8", and apparently he has been smashing it in New South Wales Cup, Lachlan Ilias. So whether Coach Shane Flanagan makes a change there in the halves will be one of the talking points. Definitely over the course of their bye week. They had the bye this week in round number 16. So, look, it's a very tough one with Kyle Flanagan being the son of Coach Shane Flanagan. Some have said that potentially it will be Shane's job on the line if the Dragons keep on performing the way they are and Kyle is halfback. So, look, he's a very tough one. What do you do in this instance? Who knows? Do you go back to Kyle Flanagan and Lachlan Ilias in the halves like they did at the start of the year, where they seem to have a little bit of success, not as much as what they thought? But look, on the other side of the coin, the Sharks, look, they got that win, which is what they would have set out to do, but I still think they do have a lot of work to do, especially when they come up against these top teams. As I said, they did beat Melbourne a few weeks ago now at Shark Park, but they have struggled since then. And look, these are the games that they need to win and win comfortably. Look, they did win by 2 converted tries in this one, but they did it the hard way, coming from behind. So a little bit of work to do there for the Sharks, especially when they come up against these top teams like the Bulldogs, like your Melbourne Storms again, the Warriors as well. So But they did get that win out of that one. The next game on the Friday night, whew, what a turnaround this one was. The Titans took on the Sea Eagles up there at Seabus Super Stadium on the Gold Coast. And look, a lot of people did tip Manly, including myself, as DCE was dropped back from the Queensland side back into the club arena. So he was playing. Tom Trbojevic was back. Jake Trbojevic was back. All the Trbojevics were back, including Ben as well. So you were thinking that Manly were going into this game as favourites and that they could get this job done. But Des Hasler coached Titans team really turned it around and turned it on, and got the victory, 28 points to 8 up there in front of 13,708. Ruben Garrick, who was playing his 150th NRL game, so congratulations to him. He scored all of Manly's points, 2 tries in the first half. At halftime, it was 22-8. The Titans would have loved to have scored more tries, obviously, in the second half, but it wasn't to be. Manly sort of stepped it up a little bit in defence there. Only the 1 try to Chris Randall after the halftime break, so it ended up 28 points to 8. Khan Pereira on that wing. Wow, what a player. He has now scored something like 52 tries in, I think it's like 51 games or something ridiculous like that. I think he's like the 4th quickest player to score, or could be the 2nd quickest player to score 50 tries or more in his career in the number of games. I think he's level pegging now with Semi Radradra. And what a player Semi was. But Khan Pereira, there was one try there where he basically sort of got the ball and sort of, he was out wide on his wing and then he come back inside, and just the pace that he has was managed to get around defenders and through defenders, and scored a try. But he is one try scoring machine, and certainly a player that the Gold Coast should look to tie up long term, especially, as you know, he's probably going to get you a try a game, if not a double, if not 3 tries a game. Just a great player, a fast player, and knows how to get across that try line. Jaden Campbell scored a try as well, and 4 out of 5 conversions. So look, a confidence-boosting win for the Gold Coast Titans. They still do sit on the bottom of the ladder, but nevertheless, it is a confidence-boosting win, and especially for Des Hasler as well against his old team, the Sea Eagles, as well, because there has been a lot of talk about him and his job moving forward. If the Titans don't make the finals this season, there could be an opportunity that Des Hasler will be without a job. So a confidence-boosting win for him, but still a lot of work to do moving forward. And as I said, very disappointing from the Sea Eagles. They have had an up-and-down season this year. They currently sit in 11th spot on the ladder. They are one of the teams that everyone thought they'd have a better season than what they have had. Look, they have had injuries. Josh Aloiai, there has been talk at 29 years of age that he will be medically retired, which is a little bit disappointing, I guess, obviously for him and for Manly as well, to be having to be medically retired. Nothing formal yet, but that has been in the news that of late. As for like Tom Trbojevic, he has been injured in and out of the season as well. I just don't know what is wrong with Tom. I'm thinking maybe his hamstring injuries are just playing on his mind here and there. There was an opportunity for him to score a try in this game. It was close to the line, and look, the Tom of old, especially in his Dally M year, he probably would have got over the line and scored, but this time he got bundled into touch, I think it was, and didn't score. So look, Tom is a champion player, and look, fully fit and firing. he is a great player to watch, hence winning that Dally M Player of the Year award a few years ago now. That is the sort of Tom Trbojevic we want to see play rugby league, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. So look, I wish Tom all the best. I really hope he can recover and get over the injuries that he has been having, because that will only be better for Manly moving forward. The first game on the Saturday night was up at McDonald Jones Stadium. Newcastle taking on the Roosters. Now, Newcastle obviously without Kalen Ponga, the Roosters without a few players as well due to state of origin. And look, for most of this game, for 60 minutes of this game, you thought Newcastle were going to hang on and win. It was 6-0 at half-time. Kyle McCarthy scored a try in the 3rd minute. Dane Gagai converted that try as well, and it was 6-0 at half time. And look, it was a real ding-dong battle. There's a bit of rain about as well up there, up at Newcastle. A good healthy crowd of 24,849. But it was 60 minutes. The Newcastle Knights were looking like they were going to win this game. However, up stepped James Tedesco, who starred in not in a scoring wise, but a try assisting wise. And the first try especially to Celesi Feketi, a prop forward and with pace. Normally plays, I think, in the back row, but on this occasion he was a front row forward. And boy, he got an offload from James Tedesco, and the pace on the young bloke, absolutely amazing. And just the left foot step really bamboozled the Newcastle fullback Fletcher Hunt, and he was nowhere to be seen and couldn't make the tackle. And Feketi went on to score the Roosters' first try in that second half, and in the next try to Siwa Wong. Now, that one has been controversial. It has been talked about on footy shows and will be talked about on NRL 360, no doubt, and it has been talked about on radio shows and from general NRL commentators, content creators, and also from Roosters fans and from Newcastle fans as well. Was that a try? Was it not a try? Look, by the letters of the law, it was a try. If I was a Newcastle fan, I would probably be disappointed that it was a try. But as I said, by the letters of the law, it was a try. So he pretty much grounded it with his forearm. It wasn't a knock on. You can ground it with a forearm, even your torso as well. It's in the rule book. So, look, Andrew Johns said on the footy show, just show it in real time. When you start to slow it down, that is when the doubt comes in. Just show it in real time and it will look like a try. Well, yeah, look, to the letters of the law, it was a try. As I said, I'd be disappointed if I was a Newcastle fan, but obviously I'd be happy if I was a Roosters fan to give that a try. And as it was, it ended up being the game-winning try. Sandon Smith did make the conversion to make it 12 points to 8. Anyway, I tell you who did have a massive game, and that was Billy Smith, the young centre. He has been injury-riddled throughout his career, but boy, did he put on a performance on Saturday night at McDonald Jones Stadium up against Dane Gagai. There was a tackle on, I think it might have been Fletcher Hunt as well, that just really was a bone cruncher. He read the play really well and absolutely smashed him. But Dane Gagai all night could not get past him. The experienced Dane Gagai up against young Billy Smith. Billy Smith had his number all night, so that is great to see. The sort of game that he had, and absolutely the sort of perception of Billy Smith and the career that he can have, because that game there was absolutely awesome from him, and hoping to see a lot more from Billy Smith, and hopefully he can overcome his injuries and just have a long career in the game. The next game, wow, on Saturday night was up at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. It was the Cowboys, obviously, taking on the Dolphins from Redcliffe. You could call them the Redcliffe Dolphins, but they're not called the Redcliffe Dolphins. They are simply called the Dolphins. 58 points to 4 in favour of the Dolphins. Amazing win, 10 tries to 1. Look, the Cowboys did have their representative players out, Jeremiah Nanai, Reuben Cotter, Tom Dearden. They are 3 off the top of my head that I can think of. There potentially could be another one as well. But the Dolphins, they had the hammer out, but their best player, but geez, they really turned it on now. Their last 3 games, they have put on something like 138 or 148 points. They put 44 on the Bulldogs. They put, I think it was 52 on who they played recently. I cannot remember. But then they put 58 on the Cowboys here. So they are one hell of an attacking team. They are, I think, at the moment, the second best attacking team in the league behind the Melbourne Storm. Jack Bostock, what a player. He got 4 tries. Now, his first try, he must be nicknamed Twinkle Toes or something, because at one point there, he caught the ball. His foot was over the line, and just when his foot hit the ground, it was inside the field of play. It was absolutely amazing. Look, there was only millimetres in it, and it could have went either way, but it went the way of Jack, and his foot was in, and he scored the try. He got a intercept try as well, and he was running down the field on his non-ball carrying hand, obviously counting 1, 2, 3, 4 tries. He had a chance to score 5, but unfortunately, I don't know whether the pass was thrown too hard or he just relaxed a little bit or whatever, but it caught him in the head, and he knocked it on, and it could have been 5 tries. Certainly would have been a Dolphins record. But look, a great player, Jack Bostock, potentially in the future could be a State of Origin representative for New South Wales if ever the wing stocks are down, but certainly he will play State of Origin one day as well. So Herbie Farnworth, he got a try. Now that one was a really interesting one as well. That was a bit of a handover from Cody Nikorima, who scored a try as well, but Cody was actually over the line and passed it to Herbie Farnworth. I don't know whether that was just to keep Herbie Farnworth's try scoring record intact, in terms of, I think he scored tries in the last 7 games or something like that, so just to keep that record going on. So look, the Dolphins, they are pretty much not a smoky. Well, they could be a smoky, but they might make their first ever final series. They are currently sitting in 6th position on the table. They play Newcastle next week. The only downside is the fact that they will be losing Felice Kafusi for a couple of weeks. He was charged with the grade 3 dangerous contact on Tom Duffy. So he was sin-binned for that as well, and he will receive a 2-match ban for an early plea, or 3 matches for if he goes to the judiciary and fights it. Look, I think he'll take the early plea on that one. So they will be doing it tough without Felice Kafusi. I think he was the captain on Saturday night as well, so that's disappointing as well. But look, they are playing some really good footy, and look, they could put points on anyone, to be honest. So yeah, they could be a smoky for the competition. You just never know. But whether they can take it on against the Bulldogs, a full strength Bulldogs, I should say, or even a Melbourne Storm, or a Canberra Raiders or Warriors at the moment, I don't know. So, but you wouldn't rule them out. Certainly, it's taken them a couple of years. I thought they might have made the semis last year, but they fell away at the end. This year, they are looking pretty comfortable at the moment. They just have to keep on winning games, obviously. The Cowboys, look, it's a hard one to take, isn't it, if you're a Cowboys fan? Having 58 points scored against you, that old adage of, oh, you've had 50 points scored against you, you can't win the competition. Well, look, that myth has not been broken yet. Not saying it will be broken this year by the Cowboys, but you just never know. But look, they were without their origin players, their best players, but even still, they will be disappointed. They still had a pretty fair squad, fair team, and at home as well, in front of their home fans and members. They will be disappointed about that one, obviously. The last game of the round, well, this one was an interesting one, this one. It was between two rivals. Obviously, as I mentioned before, Origin players out of this game. 23,871 at a core stadium. The Bulldogs, they kept their winning ways going and defeated the Rabbitohs 24 points to 18. It was 4 tries all. Goal kicking let the Rabbitohs down. Jamie Humphries only 1 from 4. Toby Sexton 3 from 4, but also kicked a penalty goal as well. As I said, 4 tries all. Alex Johnston, he got another try, so now I believe he is only 11 tries away from the all-time try-scoring record held by Ken Irvine of 212. So I think Alex Johnston is on 202 tries now in the NRL. So will he get it this season? Look, there certainly is time for the Rabbitohs. For Alex to score tries for the Rabbitohs this season. I'm going to make a bold prediction and say that he won't get it this year. I'm going to say he's going to get it next year. But look, if my footy tipping is anything to go by, I'll be completely wrong, and Alex Johnston will have the all-time try-scoring record by the end of season 2025 for the Rabbitohs. Tallis Duncan got a try, Jack Whiten got a try, Tyrone Munro got a try right at the end for the Bulldogs. Toby Sexton scored the opening try of the game. Marcelo Montoya, Connor Tracy, and Marcelo Montoya actually got a double. So, look, this game was really interesting because 8.5 minutes before halftime, the game was was suspended. Players were asked to leave the field. Spectators were asked to move to higher sort of ground if you were sitting in that lower bowl of the core stadium, and because of lightning that was around the ground, it was about 3 or 4 kilometres away, and they called the game off, and then it went actually over a core stadium. It was about a 20-minute delay, 25-minute delay before players came on the field for the rest of that first half, and then they went back into the sheds again at half-time for a shortened half-time break, then came out and completed the game. So it went for a little bit longer, and it was the first time since 2015 that a game had been suspended. The last time it was at the Sydney Football Stadium, Anzac Day game between the Roosters and the Dragons. Actually hailed that day as well, so thankfully it didn't hail in this game, but lightning, they were taking the safety precautions to get the players and all the officials and sideline eyes and whatever off the field and into safer areas. So just a little bit more extra drama to add on your Sunday night. But look, the Bulldogs, they just keep on their winning way. For the Rabbitohs, they were obviously without Latrell Mitchell and Cody Walker, who was injured. Latrell with the New South Wales State of Origin side. So, look, they'll be disappointed. I think they're coming 4th last. I'll go through the ladder in a second, but disappointed that they got the loss. But they did improve against this Bulldogs side, even though the Bulldogs didn't have their Origin players as well. I think on Good Friday, the last time they played, it was 32-0 to the Bulldogs, so that was a full-strength side. I think both sides was full strength that day anyway, but a little bit of an improvement for the Rabbitohs, but still a long way to go in their season, and see if they can turn it around. Now, going to the ladder after that weekend's games, and it is the top four looks like this. The Bulldogs, Raiders, Warriors, Storm. That's your top four. The Bulldogs on 26 points, Raiders and Warriors on 24, the Storm on 22. The Sharks are in 5th on 18, the Dolphins 16, Broncos 16, Roosters 16. Just outside of the 8, and many people thinking they could go on a little bit of a run here. The Panthers on 15 points. Now, they were last at one stage in the competition, but have managed to get up with a couple of wins and byes, have managed to get up to 9th spot. The Cowboys also on 15th, who they had that draw, that 30-all draw with the Panthers a few weeks ago now. The Sea Eagles have dropped down to 11th spot on 14 points, Dragons 14, West Tigers on 14, and the Rabbitohs on 14. 15, 16, 17 are your Knights, Eels, and Titans, and they are all on 12 points. So, look, it's still from let's call it 6th spot down to the bottom. There's only 4 points difference between 6th spot and last spot on the table, so it is a very congested ladder that way. The Sharks are only 2 points in front of the Dolphins on 18. There's a bit of a gap to the Melbourne Storm on 22, so at this point in time you would probably think that the top four are probably settled, I'd say. Just a matter of which order that they will finish in that top four. The Raiders, they just had their first bye of the year last weekend, so they still have 2 byes to go, so pretty handy for them. The Bulldogs have got a bye next week, so they will get another 2 points there. So look, I'd say that the top four are probably settled. Other than that, there could be still teams that go on a run, get some points and get up that ladder, just like the Panthers have done. So look, it's not set yet, the top 8, far from it. We'll just have to wait and see what happens in that one. As for judiciary charges, Bulldogs, they've only got a couple of fines might come their way. Josh Curran faces a $3,000 fine for a careless high tackle. Jake Turpin, who was sin bin, he faces a $1,000 fine. As I mentioned, Felice Kafusi could have 2 weeks on the sideline, 3 weeks if he pleads, if he fights it and loses. Thomas Kant is charged with a grade 1 careless high tackle and faces a fine of $1,000. Braden Trindle would be a big blow for the Sharks, but he only faces a fine as well for dangerous contact. It'll only be a $1,800 fine with an early guilty plea. Unfortunately for my Parramatta Eels, Dylan Brown has been banned for 1 game after he made contact with referee Gerard Sutton. That was in the round 14 game against the Bulldogs. So he will not be available for round 16 against the Gold Coast Titans. So that is the charges that come out of this week. Now, the games that are coming up this week, obviously, it starts on Friday night. West Tigers and Raiders, Warriors and Panthers, Dolphins, Knights, Rabbitohs, Storm, Broncos, Sharks, Roosters, Cowboys, Eels, Titans, and the byes this week are the Bulldogs, Dragons, and Manly. And of course, in the middle of the week on the Wednesday night is the Game 2 State of Origin, New South Wales and Queensland from Perth. I will be doing a game day preview of that one very shortly, so keep your eye out for that one. And also on the Thursday night is the under-19s State of Origin as well, played up on the Sunshine Coast. Both the men's and the women's under-19s, Queensland versus New South Wales. So some young talent on display there. So future NRL stars as well. So if you're able to watch that one as well, New South Wales versus Queensland in the under-19, both men's and women's. Thank you very, very much for listening to this NRL round review. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, please share it with your family and friends. I'd really appreciate it. And give me a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and also the podcast platform that you listen to the podcast on. The Para Cave Podcast, by the fan, for the fans. Go Para! How you going, mate? Are you a Para Cave Podcast listener?
I am, bro. It's a great podcast. Everyone tune in. Go
Para!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Para Cave Podcast. See you next time.